Alright, and welcome back to another video. In this video what I want to do is just a quick race recap or race review of the Moreton Bay Triathlon, which was held last Sunday, today being Wednesday after the event. So for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. For those been here before, welcome back. My name is Trindall. I'm a 57-year-old triathlete based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, and I'm currently training for Ironman Cairns in June, which is coming close to about 31 or 32 days away. So it's we're getting towards the pointy end of it. Anyway, let's talk about the race on Sunday. And I entered the what they call the classic triathlon, and there were a few different distances. There was a classic, which is the one that I was in, which is a 2K swim, 60K bike, and a 15K run. There was the shorter club distance and then an enticer distance. So I went out to the longer distances because, one, I'm training for Ironman, but two, I also wanted to practice race nutrition at a sort of a little bit of an intensity of above what my race pace will be in Cairns. So I thought that this was a good opportunity to do it, and it's literally 2 kilometres from my doorstep at home. So it was nice to be able to roll out of bed, jump on the bike and roll down into check in the bike for transition on the race morning. So anyway, let's get into the race itself. So the race had an early swim start. So the swim start for my wave, and I was in the second wave. The first wave was the up to 50s-year-old category, and then there was 50 plus category, and then the female category after my wave. So I think we had about a 3-minute gap between the pink caps, which was the first wave, and I was in the white caps. So we had an early start as well at 6:23 in the morning, and it was a wetsuit swim, which was good because we'd had a few colder days in Brisbane. The Thursday and the Friday and the Saturday were quite cool or cold compared to what we normally see in Brisbane. Race morning wasn't too bad. There was a little bit of a light breeze, which was good as well. A few people have told me last year, and I didn't do the race last year, but last year it was raining and very, very choppy. This year there was a little bit of a chop out there in the swim, but it wasn't too bad. So now the swim itself was a beach start. There was a first buoy probably about 50 metres out from the beach, which you sort of turned, you kept on your left hand side, and then you took not a right hand turn, but a sort of a turn to head out to the turning buoy, and I'm going to call it the left hand far turning buoy. At the back straight, and I'll put a little map up so you can see this in the diagram of the swim. My swim start was pretty good. I started on the very left of the field, and it was sort of a shallow water, and it was probably a bit over waist height all the way out to that 50-metre buoy. So I actually porpoise dived, staying very controlled though, and not sort of pushing my heart rate, but just sort of diving, pushing off the bottom, coming back up, and diving, pushing off the bottom out to that buoy. And when I got out to that buoy, what I found was that I was leading the swim and leading it by probably about 2 or 3 body lengths, so which sort of surprised me and not really where I wanted to be. What I really did want for this swim was to be able to practice sort of swimming on someone's hip or swimming on someone's feet, but that was what it is, and I thought, oh, they'll catch me on the next leg, which was a few hundred metres out to that back turning buoy on the left hand side of the course as we look at the course from the beach. So I just basically put my head down, concentrated on my breathing, concentrated on trying to stay as smooth as I could, and trying to sight that buoy, which I found was a little difficult. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of chop and swell, but there was enough to make it a little bit difficult for sighting. And being the earlier start with a little bit of an overcast as well, it was a bit darker. I did wear a sort of tinted goggle as well, because I knew that sun was going to come up or could come up later, and I thought the clear ones might be a bit of a pain, but I probably should have gone clear in hindsight. So I got out to that back straight turning buoy on the very left hand side, went round that, and you had a sort of good view as I was breathing to my right side. You could see, and they weren't coming back at me. They were probably a good 50 metres back by that stage was the first part or the next pack in that white cap group. So I thought, oh well, I'll just keep swimming and see how I go. So first lap of the swim, I did drift in a little bit down the back straight. Once again, siding was an issue. But what that did was it set me up for the last lap, because I was able to use landmarks in the background. In this case, it was the big white water slide park that they have there at Clontarf as a sighting to help stay a lot straighter on the second lap down the back straight. So first lap of the swim, very, very well, quite comfortable. Still no one came up on me. By the sort of halfway down that back straight, I'd swum myself up into some of the first wave, or the first wave in the pink caps, and was just starting to work my way through them, being mindful of not sort of trying to swim over anyone and throw elbows and arms and things like that in. So second lap, same as, a lot better down the back straight this time, being able to sight with that inflatable water park. And I think I lost a little bit of time in that first lap. When I looked at the Garmin data later, you can see where I've come right in down the back straight and then had to come back out to the buoy. So in the second lap, you can see I went straight from the far left buoy right down to the other end with a pretty well straight line. So exiting the water, I looked over my shoulder. I could see one of the white caps was probably 30-40 seconds behind me, and then I really couldn't see anyone else, you know, back from there. There were two and a bit minutes down. So for me, that was a good swim, and I swam it really conservatively. When I looked at my Garmin data later, it was sort of 138 average heart rate. Wasn't really quick. We had a bit of a current down the back straight there as well, and you didn't really pick that up because you came quite a way into the beach on that next leg. So onto the bike, the transition smooth. This time I did the pre-planning, so you run from the beach across into the park there at Clontarf, or Clontarf, however it's pronounced, and they have a great little transition set up, and out onto the bike. Now the bike's a 6-lap bike course, so you exit out straight onto the Hornybrook Highway there, and it goes up onto the bridge. You go over to the very end of the bridge, turn around, come back past transition. It's about 2k or maybe a little less than 2k, back out past transition, do a U-turn and then come back, and you do 6 laps of that. The first lap wasn't too bad. It did get a little bit congested after that because you had the other distances starting as well and coming out onto the course, so you had to be a little bit careful. Especially with some of those newer people on, and you know, one direction we did have a slight headwind heading back up onto the bridge, and that reduced your speed down. But when you turned on top of the bridge and come back, you were well above 40k and touching on 50k an hour coming back down that other straight. So you had to be really careful there not to cause any accidents and things like that, and just give people heaps of clearance and heaps of notice as you were coming through. And the same for myself as well. I had people coming over the top of me that were sitting on 44k an hour, and people coming over me like I was standing still at one point. So end of the bike was good. I didn't push too hard on the bike. I tried to stay very controlled. I wanted to have a better run, or being a 15k run off a 60k bike ride. I wanted to have a very controlled run. I wouldn't say better run. And I did have a time target that I wanted to run per kilometres, but I found that as I got into the run, that wasn't the case. I wasn't able to hold that, and I did drop off, and I didn't run as quick as I thought I was going to. But saying that, I'm probably carrying a little bit of fatigue in. The week prior to, I had a recovery week prior to the race, but I'd had a good 4-week block leading into that. And I was carrying, or still am carrying, quite a bit of fatigue for those that long weeks. And anyone who's trained for Ironman understands how that accumulated fatigue can be there when you're in that build phase. So finished the bike off quite well. Got to see my wife as I came in, bit of a high five as we come through. And for once, I didn't mess up my T2, because that's been the last few races I've come in and not been able to find my shoes. This one was good. I came in, found my shoes straight away, thanks to the wife. She bought me a nice bright yellow towel, and it was very easy to find, so didn't lose any time this one. Came in, racked the bike, threw my race belt number on, threw my shoes on, hat and sunglasses, and out onto the run. So the run itself was good. You sort of straight out. It was a 2-lap run for the 15K, so you ran out to the turnaround, literally at the end of the bridge where the bike turnaround was, and I'll throw a map up for that one so you can see that there, and then back again. So I hadn't really an idea where I was in my age group at that point, but I thought I must have been at the pointy end because I well and truly let out the swim. I was mindful. I sort of knew what the numbers were in my age group as far as the race numbers, so I could see who was passing me, and I hadn't seen any of my specific block of numbers pass that I was keeping an eye out for on the bike. So I thought I must have been going okay there. And when I look back at the results, yeah, I was still ahead, leading in my age group. So, and I had the quickest swim, and I ended up having the second quickest bike time, which was quite good for my age group, not overall, obviously. In the run itself, I managed to get caught by the first competitor in my age group. Darren caught me at about just coming up to the turnaround on the out section in the first lap. So that's about 3.5K. And I sort of stayed on behind him. I sort of spotted his number because I'd taken a note of that prior to the race. And I stayed sort of just off him as we came through that turn, and then headed back to what was the finish line, but would be the turn for the second lap, for about 1 kilometre. And I looked down and we were running at 4:30 pace, and he'd put about 150 metres into me in that kilometre. I thought, I'm not going to be able to go with him, and that was it. And I just sort of tried to then keep my own tempo for the rest of the run. So second lap, this was the first time I'd had problems with my feet. And what I was doing was I was running in the Sky Meta Tokyos, which is the carbon racing flats. Now, they've been great this season, but saying that, I've only done, my longest runs have been Olympic distance 10K. This one at about 12K, my feet were killing, my quads were killing, and I realised that these aren't the shoes I'm going to be able to wear in Cairns in a few weeks. So a whole different plan there. We're going to go and run in a different shoe completely. And that was I guess that's one of the reasons why we do these sort of race day simulations, or these races in this time period out, so we can test the gear that we're going to use on race day and make sure that they're going to be okay. And this was a good result as far as I was concerned, because the last 3 kilometres of that run I lost a little bit of time, and I know that came down to those shoes. And when I look at my heart rate wasn't a thing, it was more the legs and the shoes that were the issues. So, but anyway, that'll be solved, and we'll be right by Cairns. So in the run itself, I did get passed by another competitor at about 1.5 K, and to be honest, there was no way I would have gone with him anyway, and I didn't even realise I was being passed by someone within my age group. It was just another competitor, and to be honest, he looked a lot younger than our age group. That's a compliment, by the way, there, John. And he went on to take second place. I ended up crossing the line third place for another podium, which closes out what to me has been a fairly good season, because I hadn't been focusing on any of these Queensland Tri Series. I've been using these races as more training and motivation. But I've been fairly consistent throughout the whole season. I kicked off with the Bribie Island Tri at the start. I've thrown in 2 of the Kingscliff Olympic distances in that as well, and then raced that full Queensland Tri Series, dropping one of the races due to work commitments, and obviously not doing the Gold Coast Tri either, which I believe counted in the point score. But they counted 5 of the your best results in that point score, and I did manage to come away with the series win based on those points. So very, very happy with that, and really well. So My recovery's been not too bad so far. This morning I did shorten my longer run. I did have a plan, and today, as I said earlier in the video, is Wednesday. I did have a plan to go out and do a 2-hour, 15-minute run, but I brought that back to just a 90-minute run, which is just listening to my body and that. And I've done a few easy 60-minute recovery ride on Monday, which didn't feel too bad, and I did a 90-minute ride yesterday. And I'll do a 3,000 metre endurance swim today. So I'm actually starting to feel like I'm recovering okay. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that was the race that was as far as the Moreton Bay Tri goes. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to throw them down below. I do read them and do answer them. If you've made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. If you've subscribed, thank you. If you haven't, you know the drill. And until next video, guys, stay safe out there.